winter walks are great. I mean, once you get past the cold, you feel that crispness of air on your face. I like with my beard, the beardsicles that you get. Most of us are so used to walking in the wintertime with clear paths. Even when we experience a pothole or unshoveled streets, we get frustrated and angry that it hasn't been cleared off yet. Even backpacking up in the mountains, the trails are marked. You just gotta follow the trail. And every once in a while when I'm walking out there, I just think of the first explorers, the trailblazers, that had to find their way through it. How did they decide what the best way up this mountain was? Or for us, how do you decide which way to take when you're going through a trail of snow? Holy crap! That went faster than expected. I almost ran into that tree though. The temptation in the deep snow is to give up because it's too hard. Or eventually you just get so tired that you can't keep going at all. Then you're really hooped. That's a lot of hard work, but there's a solution for that. It's really steep. Really steep. Snowshoes. They've existed longer than people have been on this continent as the way to get around in winter. It doesn't always make things easier, it definitely makes it possible. Bishop Grandin, the first bishop in this diocese, that's how he would get to visit all the people that he needed to visit. He's said to have walked 40,000 kilometers on snowshoe around this province and into the north. He's quoted as having been saying, in these Nordic territories, what one needs more than a mitre on their head is snowshoes on their feet and to walk, walk, walk. There's another oblate priest that was sent up to the north in Nunavik, and he was sent and he had to build a church. But when he got there, there was nothing to build. But all the houses there, because of the permafrost, are built on stilts. But he found a different way. He built a bowl as the foundation, which just sits and floats on top of the permafrost. A unique structure in the whole town. Faith is like snowshoes. Snowshoes make us look at snow in a different way, not as this insurmountable hurdle, but as something that we can traverse across. Faith gives us a different perspective. Jesus says in the gospel to enter by the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, but the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to righteousness. But then at the same time, he'll say that my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And what he's getting at is that, yes, the road is hard, but there's a way through it. Faith offers us that way through it. Faith is the light that allows us to see life in a different way. Faith is what allows us to see things with a unique perspective compared to all others. It's really what makes the saints great. And for me, the saint that stands out the most, giving that example of seeing things really differently, is St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis was this son of a rich merchant, and when he had that encounter with the Lord, which gave him a deep gift of faith, he went to his father in the middle of the whole town and told him, I don't need your inheritance. My life is for the Lord. And his dad pointed at him and said, even the clothes on your back come from me. So in the middle of the whole town, St. Francis rips off his clothes and naked walks away because he needed nothing but the Lord. His perspective of faith allowed him to see that he needed no material goods to live the life that God was calling him to. Blessed John Henry Newman, he says that for a Christian, a poetical view of things is a duty, that we are to color with the hues of faith all things, that we should see a divine meaning in every event. This is what shapes our perspective in faith. That when we think of material goods, we think of the words of Jesus in the Gospel of Luke when he says, if someone goes to take your cloak, give him your coat also. When we think about facing grief in our life, we remember the words of St. Paul who says, we do not grieve as those who have no hope. When we think about our weakness, St. Paul says, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. When we think of temptations, we think of when St. Paul says that the Lord will never give us more that we can handle, but rather he will give us a means to escape so that we can endure it. Or we think of facing death, and we think again of, O death, where is your victory? O hell, where is your sting? Faith gives us a different perspective on all of these most troubling and difficult parts of being human. This is why we need to pray for the gift of faith. It's a gift. It's not something that comes from our own strength, but it comes from a grace of God that begins from the moment of our baptism and grows as we allow it to take hold of our whole lives, shaping our perspective. Because in the summertime, you don't need snowshoes. The way is easy. You can walk through it, no problem. But in the deep snow of winter, without snowshoes, we'll lose hope, we'll tire out, and we will fail. When things are right in life, maybe we don't have a need for faith. Maybe we don't think we need faith. But in those moments of difficulty in our life, we know that we need more than ourselves. And faith is that gift that comes from God that allows us to view all things through His eyes, to have the eyes to see everything with a divine meaning. And that perspective changes everything. So when was the last time you specifically prayed for the gift of faith? Make that part of your prayer. I challenge you to make that specific prayer for the gift of faith a part of what you pray for regularly. Lord, increase my faith. Lord, grant me your grace of faith so that I may see everything through your eyes.